So I've just spent the past 4 days in Marbella at a business mastermind, and I wanted to document some of the lessons, the key takeaways that I got out of this, because I've just spent like half a week with some really high level entrepreneurs. And I came in there with three specific challenges that I was facing at the moment, both personally and inside my business. And I just want to share with you like what they were, why they were actually problems that I identified, and what some of the outcomes and breakthroughs were for me. And hopefully there'll be some utility in there for you, because I guarantee that if you're watching this, you likely resonate with at least one of them. And hopefully, again, you're going to be able to save the cost of coming out here and learn through my own experience. So if you see me looking down, I made some notes just so I can make sure that I'm covering everything. So the first challenge that I had that I wanted to bring to this event was getting an understanding of what the next level looks like. So to give you, I guess, context, the Hunter Brain, our consultancy business, our coaching and consultancy business, where we help kind of like scattered founders that are chaotic. They are very inconsistent with their execution. They know exactly what they need to do. They're just struggling to do it. We help them to become what we call focused founders. Now, we've been doing that for about a year now, and we've been killing it. We've got our clients amazing results. And I now know that I've kind of hit this inflection point in business where like phase one is done of this new business. The constraint has essentially changed. The constraint when you first start the business is getting proof of concept, making sure you're getting the messaging right, making sure that you're able to create a great product and that you're able to produce like amazing results for your customers, and making sure obviously that it's so good that they refer people to you. So that's kind of like your first constraint, is like growing the business, getting proof of concept. And we did that. And we've done that a lot quicker than we actually anticipated doing it in the first place. So then when you hit that point, the constraint then changes. It goes from starting and creating to then, like, the constraint that I was facing is a constraint and bottleneck on my time. Is that I had then become the bottleneck and limitation to the business growing into what I wanted it to be. So there's a saying that I like, which is new levels, new devils. So I've essentially like completed, let's say, the last level, and I now know that I'm at the doorway to a new level. And I just wanted to get an understanding as to like what are the devils that are currently present. Obviously, I've just explained what one of them are, and like what are some of the ways in which that I can conquer this new level. So after speaking with a room full of high level entrepreneurs and always getting their thoughts and getting their perspective on what I'm doing and almost auditing my business, there were a few kind of takeaways that I had from this. I'm at a phase now where I've just come out the other side of doing like lots of volume. So especially from like a marketing and a content perspective. So now I'm going into a season of less but better. So I'm really going to now focus on, like, in many different areas of the business, doing a lower amount of volume, but a much higher amount of quality. So I want to treat like quite a lot of areas of my business like art, and like really tap into the creative process, like for myself, so that I can, and like make space and time for that, so that I can create a much higher quality, let's say, piece of content for you guys with insights that naturally take a little bit longer for me to have to sit on and like distill and crystallize, but insights that hopefully for you guys as you're listening to this will land for you better. It won't be the same kind of regurgitated like content that we see online everywhere, empty platitudes. And I try and do that anyway, but I feel like the limiting factor of me being able to do that is because I've set a cadence of how much I need to do. So I'm going to strip back the amount that I do and really focus on increasing the quality. And that's also going to be the same with how I deliver to clients. Instead of just like giving them as much as I can, I'm actually going to like strip back how much I give them and only give them what I believe they actually need in that moment, but make sure that it is the highest quality that it can be. So really like focusing on the dose. There's a almost like a great saying and a great like metaphor that I heard, which is like you're blowing value into either the audience or into your customer, and they're like eating it up and they're loving it, and then there comes a point where there's too much kind of like you're blowing in, like they're sucking in the value as such, and then they run out of space and they run out of like room for any more. And if you just keep blowing, so they're not taking any more in, and they actually become a little bit overwhelmed. And I've been guilty of doing that in the past. So if I'm just like totally transparent, which is what I want this to be, I'm going to like pull that back and make sure that I'm giving them exactly what they need at exactly the right time with these exact right dose, let's say. Another kind of insight from this was that I need to, and I'm going to formalize what's working. So it's become very clear from like the data like what's working inside of the business and what's doing really well. Like we're very clear on like what it is that we do, what it is that we do better than everyone else in the marketplace, what it is that we offer that no one else can offer. And the feedback that we get from our clients is just like phenomenal. So we're going to formalize what's working instead of constantly like feeling like we have to test new things out all the time. We've got the data that shows us what is objectively working. So we're just going to formalize that and systemize it so it can become even more kind of routine and predictable. Now, if I move on to the second challenge that I was facing, it was that I wanted a clearer vision to align to. Now, something that I've always struggled with is building something beyond just getting my needs met. I think when you first get into business, like I've been in business for 10 years now, I've run multiple businesses. Like, even though a lot of them have done quite well, I would hit a certain point in business where like my needs were met. I can do what I want. I can genuinely live life on my own terms, which is, fucking awesome to be able to say. I'm sat here on a Monday in Marbella at this really nice, like beachside restaurant. Just had like some really nice octopus, and I don't need to look at the price for anything for like these types of purchases. And like I'm in a really good place, right? But then what do I do beyond that? Like I've often struggled in like my businesses, like once my needs are met, to like see beyond that and to like keep my drive going beyond that. Like I always do the work and I keep going, but I often have this tension in my mind of like, well, what am I doing the work for beyond like obviously making an impact on my clients? Because for me, like material things just don't light me up. Like I'm not a car person. I don't buy fancy watches. I don't care for kind of materialistic things. I'm very much like an experience driven person. So like the small material things, like I've just and experience things that I've just explained there, right? Like I can do all of those. So if I'm not excited by those things, like what does excite me? What can get me out of bed in the morning and what can really like put that fire in my stomach so that I can just like run through walls even when like my needs are met? Because again, like just thinking on this now, pain is the biggest motivator, right? I think most of us get into business to begin with because there is a pain there that we're trying to overcome. And maybe it's that like you're in a job and it's like, I don't, I hate this and I need to get out of this. I want autonomy. I want freedom. So like, that's a really motivating factor to like do the work. But then there comes a point where that's no longer as pervasive. It's not really that painful anymore because you're so far away from that point that it's like, cool, like what is my motivation? And that's where we need to really create like a pleasure island. So something to swim towards rather than something to swim away from. And I was kind of like missing that thing. And another reason that why I believe this is so important to have is that if you don't have this kind of thing to swim towards and this clear vision that you're working towards, then you're not going to have a filter to make decisions by. And you're often then just going to make decisions based off of like what sounds fun and what, maybe is the loudest right now or what helps you to get out of any discomfort. And you're also then not going to actively choose to step into discomfort if you don't know the reason why you're doing it. So I know that if I have a strong vision in place, I'm able to make decisions easier because I can essentially hold the decision up and be like, right, there's this thing that I maybe want to do or is presented to me. And does this take me closer to or further away from the vision? And then if it takes me closer to the vision, then it doesn't matter how hard it is. It doesn't matter how much work it requires. It doesn't matter how uncomfortable it might be. I know the right answer. It is taking me closer to the vision. So therefore I will walk that path. But without that vision, we don't have that conversation. And it's really difficult to know then whether we're going in the right direction. So the outcome for me off the back of that, like that I was really able to take away from this mastermind is that, well, I'll tell you actually what happened. There was a breathwork facilitator that came on day 2, which was really interesting. And I've done a few kind of like breathwork practices before with facilitators as well, which if you haven't done it before, like, I'd highly recommend doing it, especially if you have a brain type similar to mine. Your nervous system is often like heightened a lot of the time and dysregulated. So it's a really powerful way to like regulate your nervous system amongst other things. And this guy came in and did a breathwork session. And we did an hour. So it was an hour of breathwork, laying down. There was like, again, lots of like 6-figure entrepreneurs just laying on the floor in this villa with this guy coming in. And we did 50 minutes of like actual breathwork rounds. And then we had a 10-minute kind of meditation off the back of that, where you just feel like blissfully peaceful. And it's really interesting because a lot of things just like naturally then come to the surface off the back of that. I know it sounds a bit woo-woo and spiritual, but trust me, it's really crazy like what's underneath that we're not able to see or feel because the busyness of life just like doesn't allow us to. We're working so hard and we're busy all of the time that like we just like don't have time to slow down enough to like acknowledge and recognize what's there. So obviously like sitting down or laying down, shall I say, for an hour and doing this breath work creates enough stillness for us then to allow those things to surface. And it was in that breath work session where I had this insight. And it was the fact that I get my satisfaction from serving others and helping others to meet their needs, right? So my vision has essentially now ascended from getting my needs met to helping other people that I really deeply care for, like almost like bringing them into this life that I've created for myself. Because like I said, I'm at this point where it's like things are really good. Like I feel the most peaceful, calm, creative, excited that I ever have in the 10 years of being in business. And that, that's a blessing to be able to say. But I'm like, okay, cool. Like what's next? And now I want to bring like my family into this life with me. Spent a lot of time obviously with my fiance Chloe, and I've brought her into this life, and now it's like I want to bring my extended family into this life. I'm going to pay off my mum's mortgage. I'm going to like pay for a family holiday to somewhere that I know that nobody would feel like they have the resources to be able to do so. Just like I want to, from like my inner circle perspective, I want to give them a life that I know they would not be able to like have on their own, with the kind of conditions that they're in and the responsibilities and resources that they have. And like the idea of that just really fucking excites me. And then on kind of like wider to that as well is like putting less focus on me and more focus on like the impact and service that I can provide to others. And that is obviously my clients. That is people that aren't my clients that are interested in the work that I do and maybe will never work with me. And that kind of leads me then to being like, I need to grow the podcast. I need to impact more people. I need to get on stages. I need to like step into those kind of arenas of discomfort and really focus on like making a tangible difference to other people, not just like getting up there so you can get more clients or anything like that. Like going up there with zero intent of anybody paying me any money and being like, I want people in an ideal world to be listening to, let's say, this talk. If I'm on stage, pull me to the side at the end and go, that's just changed my fucking life. So that's the mission now. And hopefully you can see there just by like me having that as like an anchor, you can see that it's like, it's already giving me decisions that I need to make that I probably wouldn't have made on my own, right? Without having that there. Like if I don't have that there, there's no need for it. Like I can't see the need for me to step on stages. I can't see the pressing urgency of me having to grow the podcast. But now that I've got this vision in place, it makes those decisions a lot easier. It's like, well, what's the quickest route to doing that? And it's through those means, right? So that's the second one. And then now moving on to the third one. And just FYI, like hopefully you guys are finding this helpful at this point. If you're, watching this on YouTube, drop me a comment and let me know if this is landing for you. And obviously, if you're listening to this on the podcast, I'd love to hear from you on Instagram. If you're listening to this and it's landing for you, maybe there's anything you're resonating with, like just drop me a DM. I listen to and read and respond to all of them. So I would really love to hear, because like I'm wanting to create more content like this as well for you guys. It's just like documenting the journey of what it's like to build a business around your brain, like making sure that you're living with intention, building your life and your business in alignment with how you actually operate, not how the world has told you that we should operate. And I want to be more transparent, more vulnerable, more honest, and like give you an understanding as to what goes on up here, and how I navigate the day to day, how I navigate my business challenges, and hopefully you guys will find utility in that. So the third and final one is really like I wanted to get ideas from other entrepreneurs and other businesses, because there's a saying that I love, which is that it's hard to read the label when you're inside the bowl. Like if any of my clients are listening to this, they will be rolling their eyes because I say that so frequently. Like literally imagine yourself inside of a bottle, right? Like you're not able to read the label that's on the outside because you're too inside of it. And that's what it's like when you're inside of your own life and inside your own business. It's very difficult for you to be able to see what's going on. So it's always great to get around other kind of like great minds, because they're usually able to like very quickly see what's happening that you can't see and see these blind spots. And I've also recognized that it's like too easy to mirror what other people are doing. Like we spend obviously, especially if you run an online business, and to be honest, like even if you don't, most businesses are online now anyway in some capacity. And I think we spend such a large portion of our time on social media. It's so easy for us to just get sucked in to like what other people are doing, like maybe your competitors, etc. And we end up then almost like by and through osmosis, just like copying and mirroring what other people do. And like I'm guilty of that as well sometimes. I really try not to, but I'm not even aware that I'm doing it a lot of the time. I will start to look at my content and I'll be like, that looks like everyone else's. Like everyone else is doing talking head videos, and I've all of a sudden just started doing loads of talking head videos. So that's helpful as well, is like to like have people call you out when you're doing that, and also like recognize what are other people doing differently and like why does that stand out. And even just like simply as well, you don't know what you don't know. Getting into a room with other people and like just hearing their experiences, hearing what they're doing, their philosophies, their principles that they're operating by. Sometimes you come across gems that you just didn't know and you just hadn't heard of before. And it's, how else are you going to get those insights? So that's helpful too. And naturally just getting inspiration from other industries. Like in this room, there were about 10 other entrepreneurs, and some of them were in similar industries and some of them weren't. And I always find it really interesting, to be honest, to get insights that are not from the industry that I work within, because like obviously from a strategic point of view, it helps you to stand out if you're like you've got first movers advantage to something. But I often find that like when we're looking at what we can do and how we can innovate, we only really look at like our close environment and whatever's like closest proximity to us. But you'll often find that like there are other industries that have already like tested and tried something and have proven that it works. And I just find that there's usually some really interesting little nuggets that I can take from other people's industries and bring them to mine. So what have I taken away from all of this? Well, a couple of things. Number one is that I've actually been able to figure out and like work with a few people there, brainstorm ideas, a new way to deliver to clients to give them what they need, like faster and easier. And which is really important to me. Like I'm always refining the service. I'm always refining like how can I reduce friction for my customers? And no matter what industry or business you're in, that should be a question you're asking yourself as well. Is like how can I continuously make it easier and reduce the friction and the work really that's required for my clients to go from like ground zero to like floor 100 where they're wanting to go. So I've really come away with some like new and interesting ideas that I'm going to be testing out. And when I've tested them and I can confirm that they work, I will obviously be coming on here and talking about them more. But I've got some really cool ways that I'm going to be doing that and some new things that I'm going to be integrating in to create this more streamlined, bespoke service for each of my clients and not just following like the industry norm. And then the final kind of insight that I took from this 4-day mastermind is that everything works. Literally everything works. Everybody is doing something different and it all works. Whether it is a certain way to market your services, a certain way to deliver your services, a certain way that you actually just like operate in business. Everybody is doing something different and everything works. So the question then becomes, which one are you going to pick that works for you? And that is a really kind of powerful question and hopefully like relief for a lot of people. Because I think, we can also come to thinking that the answer is over there in the next book, in the next podcast, in the next room, with the next mentor. They have the secret sauce that I don't yet have. And it's like, it's their way that works and this way doesn't. And unfortunately, a lot of marketers are going to tell you that as well. They're going to say that, if you're not doing reels on social media, then like you're missing out. Like you have to do this style of reel even. You have to deliver your service in this type of way. And it's just not true. Like I've seen it so many times over the past 10 years and it was just reinforced to me over this 4-day mastermind that everything works. So you can't do everything. Therefore, you just need to pick which one is going to be right for you to go all in on. And obviously a large part of the work that I do for me personally, but also for my clients is helping them to pick what is right for them, which is the strategy, the approach, the design that fits how their brain is actually wired, not what they believe they should be doing because someone else is doing it or they've been told to do. So I've told stories many a time how I've joined mentorships previously and hired consultants and they've said, no, you're doing it wrong. Like if you want to see success, you need to do it like this. And it's just not worked for my brain. But unfortunately, there was no nuance there. There was no, oh, like this is an option, but also so is this. Which one works better for the way that your brain works? It was just definitively like, this is the way. And that's why like I really believe that the service we offer is phenomenal and like so powerful. And I know that sounds so biased and I'm obviously going to say that, but I believe this to be true because we blend cognitive performance with business strategy. Because if like when you're building a business, you need to, and you're getting help, let's say, to build the business, there also needs to be an understanding of the brain that is running the business. Because if you are just focusing on the strategy and not the brain that's running it, then you could create the perfect blueprint, but that's not aligned to the person, right? And the analogy I always give to clients is like, we've got the builder and we've got the building. So many people just focus on the building. They focus on like the blueprint, the strategy, the tactics that are going to help you to create this lovely building, i.e. your business. But the builder can't build it because it's not aligned with how they work, or the builder needs better tools. He needs, upskilling. He needs to think differently and like look through the world with a different paradigm. And it just means we've just got like the perfect plan and we never execute on it. So the main overarching takeaway from that is that everything works. You just need to pick what works for you. So hopefully you enjoyed this one, guys. I actually enjoyed making this and I'm looking forward to doing some more of these soon. I'll catch you back in England.